Hi, I'm Rob, and in full disclosure, I found saw your video because my wife Melinda, Mel's basket case, replied to your video being called a racist. I thought, not just posting this like I agree with her, in fact I think I kind of disagree with her in a big way, but I thought I could give a different perspective on what you guys have been talking about, or where the confusion comes from. The Andy Rooney letter thing. I think what people are objecting to. Okay, this part of the Andy Rooney letter says, assuming this is the same thing you saw, I'm looking at the one on Snopes.com version of it. It says, I don't think being a minority makes you a victim of anything except numbers. The only things I can think of that are truly discriminatory are things like the United Negro College Fund, Jet Magazine, Black Entertainment Television, and Miss Black America. That first sentence, I don't think being a minority makes you a victim of anything except numbers. That's just a straight-up denial that there's any racism going on in the country. There's no one being discriminated against. Like, civil rights have been effective, and there's no more racism. We don't have to worry about it. And I think the numbers just don't bear that out. This is a very simplistic view. If a person thinks that being a minority today, you experience no discrimination at all, it just makes you a victim of numbers. I don't think that's true. I think people's incomes. Yaphet Kotto. Have you ever seen, a couple years ago, Michael Moore, I know everybody's supposed to hate him. Michael Moore did a little TV show, I think it was called The Awful Truth. He did a bit where he had Yaphet Kotto, who was like an award-winning actor. He was on, I think, Homicide, Life on the Streets for a while. He's been in lots of TV, lots of movies. He was in the original Alien. Been lots of other movies. Big, beefy African-American man. He tried to hail a cab in New York City, and cabbies would pass him by, zip, 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 pass by. And then they showed this white guy who was clean cut, and he was out of prison after serving his sentence for murder, and of course the white guy was able to flag down cabs all day. The point is, I'll say I think there's not as much racism today. Things have made progress, but I think anyone who thinks that like there's no problems with minorities, there's no racism at all, that seems like a silly statement to say. I don't think being a minority makes you a victim of anything except numbers. The other part about the United Negro College Fund, Jet Magazine, I think, let me go back to my email, because I emailed Melinda about it. Here we go. So I wrote it all down. To me, the controversial part is not that Jet Magazine discriminates in favor of black subjects. The controversial part of that claim is the author of that statement doesn't get out much if he thinks those are the only things that discriminate today. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and come up with all the examples of racism, but people still experience it today. I'll give you another example, is that women, if you compare job to job, women of the same experience in the same area of the country will earn about, I think the national average is supposed to be 70% of what a man makes in that same job. So they always say 70 cents on the dollar or something. That's still true. Women experience discrimination. There are other minorities who still experience discrimination. Jet Magazine, so even, I'm going to agree kind of and say, yes, Jet Magazine discriminates in favor of black subjects. I'm also going to say that's all right, because they're trying to make up for problems they feel like other magazines don't present enough black people or interests that are, African American, so they want to focus on African American entertainment and news and politicians and stuff. So I'm kind of agreeing with you that they are, in the way you're saying it, they are discriminating in favor of black subjects. Same thing with Miss Black America, United Negro College Fund, but in those areas I'm also going to say it's a good thing that they do that. I'm arguing with somebody, a friend at work. Sorry, I'll cut that out. I argued with a friend at work a little bit about Miss Black America. She kind of convinced me if after Vanessa Williams won, that was a long time ago. You still need a Miss Black America, but I don't know. I just don't see a lot of. I can't picture a lot of white women going, please, please let me into Miss Black America. It's the same on each of these things. There's not. Brad Pitt isn't going to go, oh my God, I can't get into Jet magazine. Most of these things, while they do sort of discriminate in favor of their preferred focus, it's because they're making up for ways in which society is still, most of society is still discriminating against them. Okay, another good example is gays. There are no laws in most places. There's laws in some places, some cities, and maybe states that say you're not supposed to discriminate against a person based on sexual preference, sexual orientation, whatever. But in most places, an employer can fire or decide not to hire a person just because they're gay. They can, a landlord can turn you down because you're gay. And I forgot to mention the discrimination about gays. You can be a single, straight woman, let's say, and you can adopt kids. In some areas, they won't let a single gay woman adopt kids. I mean, technically, even if they have a committed relationship and they would marry if they could, they might not be allowed to marry in that area. They wouldn't be able to adopt just because there's discrimination claims that gays are more likely to supposedly be pedophiles, or maybe the gayness will rub off on a child. The child won't have the terror of burning in hell for eternity for failing to be straight. I think that's an important one. You're actually stopping. They call it pro-family, but it's stopping families. It's stopping kids from getting adopted that might have been adopted. It's stopping committed couples from forming families, and they call that position pro-family because they're making strict limits to what they will consider family. Actually, the pro-family, to me, would seem like more inclusive. Let more people describe their situation as a family. Anyway, sorry. That's another example of discrimination. I think you can see it all over. I think you can see state legislatures trying to... They've noticed that there are loopholes in some of their state constitutions or state laws where people might not get discriminated against enough for being gay. So they're actually pushing... In Michigan, we actually had a stupid referendum kind of thing a couple years ago where they said marriage is between one man and one woman, and then 6 months later they started cracking down on they started trying to apply the same thing, the same new proposal thing to cohabiting unmarried couples, which up till then they kind of considered them to be essentially deserve all the rights of a married couple. I don't know, in some ways, but they've been trying to roll it back now, based on this thing that was supposed to be about gay marriage, and it ended up being bigger, and it's not right, even if it was just for gay marriage. I'm sorry, I'm going off on it. So I think it is, a person just doesn't get out much if they think that the only things they can think of that are truly discriminatory in today's world are BET and Jet Magazine and United Negro College Fund. Does the discrimination of Jet Magazine or Miss Black America or the United Negro College Fund harm people outside of those groups? No. Whites have plenty of opportunities in all those fields because modern discrimination generally works in their favor. Jet and Miss Black America and UNICEF are actually discriminating in order to correct problems in our society. You might be opposed to affirmative action, but I think these are examples where it's needed and it works. So I kind of disagreed with Melinda. I kind of disagreed with you. But I hope that we can all live by the words of Rodney King. Can't we all just get along? Thank you.